Greetings, this is Rob from Android Community, and today we're going to take a look at another device on the from the Verizon network. This time around it's the HTC One Maxx, and this one, as some have already pointed out, certainly lives up to the Maxx in the name. The handset is big, and even as a fan of larger handsets, we have to say this one was almost comical when we took it out of the box. It's a big phone. It's a 5.9-inch display. It is, thankfully, it's 1080p, which does help. But even judging by some of the standards that we see from others with the by big screens, we'll take a look at it compared to the Galaxy Note, and as you can see, it sort of, I hate to use the word towers, but it's a pretty good chunk taller than the Galaxy Note 3. So as you can see, it's a big phone. There's no denying that. But like we said, it does have the 1080p display, which helps. And aside from that, it's got a Snapdragon 600 at 1.7 gigahertz. There's also 2 gigabytes of RAM in here. There's a 2.1 megapixel camera up on the front, and the backside has the ultra pixel camera, which is similar to what we've seen with the HTC One and also the One Mini. Some of the other features that you'll notice here, of course, it's on the LTE network for Verizon. No real surprise there. We also have the 3 Pogo plugs for wireless charging, as well the fingerprint sensor. This was a bit hit or miss in our use so far. We're certainly going to do some more testing, but we found that during the initial setup process, we kind of went through and did everything real smoothly, basically lining the finger up and going down nice and smooth to try to get a good reading, but that differed from actual real world usage. We lined our finger up nicely, and then to use it, coming from an angle, we're sliding more that way, and it doesn't always quite work out so well. The initial setup process does have you do a password also, so if it ever fails, you kind of have that stop, so you're not going to get locked out of your phone necessarily, but take some consideration into how you're going to use the phone and how you're actually going to hold the phone when you do that initial setup. Otherwise, we have over here on the one side, it's for the most part clean. We do have this little lever which pops the back off. It doesn't come off very smoothly, but it does come off. There's not much room to not much need to remove it on a regular basis. As you'll see, there's not a removable battery in this case. Otherwise, you have your standard SIM card slot, which for most people you're not going to be swapping in and out, and a micro SD card slot. Again, probably not something you're going to access on a regular basis, but it is there for that initial. And then on the bottom we have a micro USB for charging. This other side has the power button and the volume rocker. And then coming over the top, and we have the headphone jack and the IR blaster. So overall, it's a pretty solid handset. We pointed out the front-facing camera already, and otherwise you have, similar to the One, or I should say the regular size One, as this is another one, but you have the front-facing speakers. In this case, that's HTC with boom sound, and they are a nice addition, especially if you're going to be watching any video, anything like that. And while the phone is big, and there's no denying that, it does make for a nice video experience. As far as the Verizon unit goes, there are some pre-installed apps. We have a selection of Amazon stuff. You have everything from Google nicely tucked away in one folder, as well as some media stuff. Your tools are tucked away, and otherwise here is the apps for better or worse, that show up with Verizon phones, the standard array. At least in this case, they don't take up too much storage space. There's plenty overall on the phone, and they're nicely tucked away in a folder, so you don't have to look at them very much. But otherwise, relatively clean. These last few are ones that we added with the one exception for Google settings up there. The last few were added during our testing. But otherwise, a relatively clean install, and this is just a first look. We've only had the phone for about a day now. We'll have a full review coming up, and this video will be posted with the full written review. But again, this was Rob for Android Community, and this was a look at the Verizon branded HTC One Maxx.